Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Romantic Killer Season 1 on Netflix. And I fucking love this anime. It kind of actually reminded me of, like, The Devil is a Part-Timer, of where I'm like, okay, I'll check this out and see how I like it or not. And boom, it just hit it off for me because they executed their premise very well. They populated it with characters and situations that just hit me like when it was a serious kind of thing and comedy wise, and I hope that this gets a second season because I really enjoyed it. Even though it was just 12 episodes, it just worked very well. Now, I would recommend this to pretty much a lot of different people. However, there are kind of adult kind of stuff, not completely of like, here's boobs, here's ass kind of thing, but situations of like this dude trying to rape this girl, and a very serious kind of stalker situation going after this dude. It's like, okay, that's some heavy shit that you really have to talk with somebody about if that kind of stuff is like really not in their wheelhouse, you know what I mean? So overall, it's a lot of more kind of comedy focused in the beginning, and the comedy doesn't like sput out and die in the second half, but you get this kind of heavier stuff going on. Like, god damn, they really brought that shit in. But this essentially takes the whole kind of thing of like a reverse harem kind of thing going on with a girl and like all these guys. However, you're following the protagonist of Anzu, and she is essentially trying to fight against this shit with this wizard Riri, because she's just this girl that's got her three great loves of chocolate, her cat Momohiki, and video games. And she's just going about life, doing everything pretty well. She gets this video game that, through pretty much like an online kind of thing, and she starts to kind of play it. It's like, this doesn't seem like the right kind of game. And then the fucking wizard Riri pops out, talking about the whole kind of declining birth rate and everything like that, and trying to pretty much force her into dating and everything by taking away her three great loves. And it's not just like this simple thing, like she can't have chocolate, like any chocolate around her gets like a force field kind of shit or is gone. Her video games are confiscated. This is the level of comedy that they kind of work on. Her dad works for the post office in Japan. Somehow he gets transferred to the United States, and this is one of those like complete batshit crazy ass things that works in the whole kind of like, hey, that's the plot demanding it because she needs to be at home for harem situations to occur, to which she still fights against, which I fucking love it for. She's like, I'm good. Fuck off. I want my shit back. And it's like, oh, okay, she lives alone now, so living with guys, that kind of shit. It's just like, that's the best you can come up with, dude? Like, come on, wizard, do your shit. But you really get that antagonistic kind of nature down of Anzu being like, fuck you, asshole. And Riri's just like, no, we'll get, hey, you'll get all your shit back if you do this. And she's like, no, I'm gonna fight against you, you asshole. I'm gonna get my shit back my way. And just putting her in these kind of crazier and crazier dating scenarios, which is kind of fucked up, because Riri only really kind of understands dating stuff as has been presented through like dating sims, which I hope they kind of dive in a little bit more, because granted, dating sims have certain kind of things that have happened in real life with certain kind of people, but it's like vast scenarios where it's like, hey, you're living with like 5 different hot guys and whatnot. It's like, really? That's not really that much of a common occurrence now, is it? Now, granted, she doesn't get up to that kind of level, but she does at least get 2 hot guys in there. It's like, what the fuck? And she does really bring up some interesting kind of points, because he instigates all these kind of stuff. She's in the one place trying to ascertain if she can get chocolate, and this convenience store accidentally comes out and breaks this one dude's phone, who we find out is one of the hot guys that goes to her school. And the thing is, he's kind of like an aloof and kind of cold dude, where he gets a lot of love letters from people. He turns them down. This one chick is on his ass because she likes him, but we learn later on in the series that he did act nice towards one person and tried to help her, and it instigated this stalking scenario where she makes social media posts as him and drugged him and we don't know if it led to any kind of other kind of stuff, but like his father then was blaming him for the whole thing of like, oh, you're leading her on and all that kind of stuff. It's like he picked up her bag when she was having a bad day and helped her up. That is literally all he did, and would sometimes say like hi to her as she's like having a worse kind of time. And the thing is, they also make you kind of not saying it, they don't say that she's right or justified in how she's doing it, but that she was having shit and being bullied, which then led to her taking the complete and utter kind of insane kind of route of cyber stalking and drugging this dude to the point where it even fucks him up, of where people are like, oh, he's hot, and wants to go up and talk to him, and he doesn't know how to handle that. And seeing, like, in the beginning, you're just like, oh, he's got that kind of, like, cold kind of, like, mentality, that aloof kind of thing. Even going to say is, like, he's not interested in dating because he was severely fucked up in how he interacted with this stalker. It's like, it fucks him up traumatically to the point of, like, Anzu and her kind of being forced on him a little bit through Riri stuff, even though he does kind of feel safer around her, not to the point of like, hey, I'm gonna fucking like magic your ass. It is interesting that she's like, are you making these people do this kind of stuff? Because we then get, of course, the hot childhood friend who wasn't hot back then, who she used to play video games with, this Junta kind of dude who's like a star athlete and everything, and like pops up, and we find out that she thought that this dude was being like mind fucked with by the wizard to like her and everything, but like, no, we learn later on that like, no, he did have feelings for her, and he was actually fucked over by this other dude who had feelings for Anzu as well, pretty much telling him to like, no, you don't play with her. In elementary school, it's like, oh shit. But I do like her being like, what the fuck's going on here, because she doesn't want this dude to be like fucked with mentally to liking her for this stupid fucking thing. And it's like, huh, that's good that she's actively thinking about this and actively plotting and trying to, like, beat this motherfucker. The third main one that we get introduced to is Hijiri, who is the hot and cold kind of one. Rich dude's like, oh, I could buy you all this kind of stuff and everything like that. And she's like, fuck you, you're an asshole. You're just using your parents' money. Which then leads to her getting a job at a convenience store and him getting a job at the same kind of convenience store, and him actually learning and kind of growing, and his bodyguard actually thanking her at a certain point of what's going on. So you pretty much see in the beginning, we see the players set up, we see how the parents are moved out, the wizard actually fucking destroys Tsukasa, the aloof stalker dude, like with the stalker apartment, and he moves in there, and of course Junta gets thrown into the mix as well with her, with his mother kind of being like, oh, she's alone, go live with her. We also get introduced to Anzu's friend Saki, who is really kind of cool. We learned that people, she has body issues as well, because everybody was like interested in her body, and this fucking, I loved one of the best kind of fucking comeback lines, because we flash back into it. And this dude's like, oh, how big are your boobs? She's like, oh, just tell me how big your dick is, pretty much. Now, granted, she goes the kind of more tactful, oh, just as long as you tell me how long your penis is. And just like, everybody's like, oh shit, she ain't fucking around with that. And then we see that she got into this kind of relationship with this upperclassman who then tried to force himself on her, and having to deal with the fallout of that, as he's pretty much making it that she's a crazy psycho weirdo, before Anzu pretty much like lays into his ass for spreading that stupid fucking bullshit, because she wasn't interested in him in that way, and was mainly dating him to see if any kind of feelings would develop. You know, like the actual fucking objective of dating is. It's like, I don't know if I like you. You could be a fucking serial killer for all I know. You could wear fucking skins and Buffalo Billing around like a motherfucker. You don't know that shit until you fucking, like, date a person and they start talking about hoses and lotion and skin. You know what I mean? You pick up on that shit, because guess what? You gotta fucking figure that shit out, man. And the only way to do that is to, date. Because you could be like, oh, I kind of like you, but it's like, I don't know fucking shit about you. No fucking thing of it. But that was nutty. And then seeing the like fallout as the stalker chick starts getting introduced and going after Anzu and all that, and everybody actually, because she doesn't go, she saw like Tsukasa in like a social media post, which is like, why you gotta be careful on that shit. And especially, it's like, oh god, like there can be good stuff on social media where you talk to people about cool ass shit, and then it's like, oh god, like she found him in like these two girls were just taking pictures of themselves, and he was just fucking in the background, and she's able to fucking pinpoint that, go talk to Anzu and everything like that, and it's like, oh god. And see, the thing is, she never really had to kind of deal with the consequences of her actions fully, because evidently her mother's brother, like her uncle, would like kind of deal with the situation. So it's like, you really need to deal with the consequences of those kind of things. She needed mental help, and she never fucking got it, and it escalated to the point where she has a stalker complex and is going after people with knives, because that's how it kind of fucking gets towards the end, and that gets Tsukasa to eventually get to the point where he's like, stay away from me. It also does introduce this kind of thing where Anzu tries to reason with Riri, being like, something needs to be done here. And then we do see that Riri does appear to the stalker in human form and has been kind of going around and doing shit in human form as well. I do like how it's introduced into the point. It's like, hey, I'm learning more stuff about dating and doing all this kind of stuff and popping up as a boy and a girl to just kind of like do its kind of stuff. But he utilizes his magic in a wrong kind of way to wipe out the stalker's memory, which that's a way to deal with the situation, but not really. Because towards the end of this season, we see that one of the other kind of wizards is sent to her. It's like, oh god, we'll have to see how that fucking works out, because that could go kind of nutty and crazy. I'm interested to see how it works. But the thing is, Riri did the magic illegally. It was pretty much pulled off, and Anzu is able to pretty much wrangle him back in as essentially one of the candidates that she has the lowest kind of potential of kind of going in for. So he then comes back as her wizard, pretty much sets up the whole kind of thing. We see that everybody else gets introduced to the whole kind of concept of what's going on, and Riri's like, oh yeah, you gotta get like a boyfriend by the end of high school, otherwise you're never gonna get chocolate, video games, or your cat again. It's like, motherfucker. And the thing is, Anzu really needed to argue more effectively to the corporate overlords of the wizards and this whole kind of scheme that they've got, because they're like, oh yeah, we can't really deal with a stalker that could, well, I don't know, potentially kill you or any of the other suitors that you're fucking involved with. I'm like, that's a danger to her, to him, to Junta, to Hijiri, to fucking other people, because she blackmailed some motherfuckers to fucking go after Anzu. And Riri had to utilize some weird fuckity-doo-dah, fuckity-day to send off other people to protect Anzu from that situation. Then she came in to pretty much fucking slice Anzu, and it's just, that situation did need to be dealt with, because that is a fucking dangerous thing that completely and utterly breaks apart anything that could go on. So I do like that she was able to argue Riri back in, but I'm like, there's a lot of kind of other arguments that should have been utilized to this to be like, hey, she gonna hurt somebody, kill somebody, any kind of thing. And it was just like, oh shit. Now, even though that this was introduced, these kind of situations, they don't destroy the overall tone of what's kind of going on. Yes, it is mostly, for the most part, light-hearted, comedic, as we see Anzu fight against the insanity that has been imposed upon her by Riri, which is the best part. I love Anzu as a character, and I also like all the other characters and digging into their depth. They're just not like Hot Guy 1, Hot Guy 2, stupid friend that doesn't really do much. That's Makoto, that's Tsukasa's friend, and he's not really even stupid. He helps out Saki when she is in a situation. Like this kind of friend that's in the background of the main protagonist chick, Saki. Everybody has something, has little stories for themselves, and little depths to them that add to the narrative, which I'm just like, that's what you always want to do. Granted, you don't need a supporting character that's gotta have a fucking lore dump that's like, from the beginning of time, during the Oreo Wars of the Cheese Balls, they fucking pounded out a fucking battle plan or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need it fucking 35 wikis deep for that shit. But neither do I just want them to be a cardboard and just like, hey guys, I'm stereotype typical character number 1 that'll do plot demanded thing here to ensure that the plot happens. We don't need that. That's why I like this, because all of the parts work together and just really made it an enjoyable experience. I like the animation style and all the different kind of things that they would do, especially like showing Anzu in different kind of ways and how she would like take certain kind of things that Riri would do, showcasing her emotions in vastly different kind of ways. It just worked well. And then when you see certain characters that usually don't show that kind of emotion, it's really kind of cool to see them show those emotions in different various kind of things. Like Tsukasa is usually kind of just like, what the fuck's going on? But then laughing at something strange that Anzu did, or crying because somebody finally fucking was taking his side on the whole stalking thing, even though his older sister takes his side as well and calls their dad garbage, who he is, because here's the thing, he's like apologizing to Anzu that it's his son's fault. It's like, no, she went after her because she thought that she was a romantic rival and was trying to fucking kill her. This is not your son's fault. This is like, I'm like, if you're going to apologize for a situation, I'm sorry this crazy ass shit was going on. And it's not really like trying to force his son to apologize for things that weren't his fault. It was just like nuts. I hate seeing that kind of stuff. And they did it well enough to be like, yeah, the dad does not know and does not completely understand what's been going on with his son. And this whole kind of situation. It's like, holy fucking shit. Ugh. And then we see that Hijiri also gets in and pretty much stops the uncle from being able to stop what's going on, like, let his niece kind of continue doing what she's doing. She pretty much got put in an institution, but we'll see kind of how that kind of works out in the next kind of season, as it's like, okay, she's got Tsukasa, who she kind of helps with his whole kind of anxiety and everything like that, and he kind of like buys her little things as well and takes care of cockroaches for Junta, as he's like dealing with her his feelings for her and trying to like still stay within the kind of race. The thing is, Tsukasa seems to be the kind of strongest contender here, so if anything, they would need to kind of upgrade what they're kind of trying to do for Junta and how he's trying to go forward with this. He's very much stuck in like, I don't know what to do kind of mode. Hijiri, I don't really feel is an actual major contender. It feels like more that Anzu will help him grow as a character and eventually kind of like accept being able to do certain things for himself and taking those challenges and not just coasting by on like his parents' money and everything like that. Because he essentially got like plot to the story to like, oh yeah, he was put into like pretty much public school to actually understand what the world is like. And it's kind of going to be interesting to see how these different kind of stories interact and how Anzu kind of changes them up, because even though it's still kind of the whole kind of romantic comedy dating sim kind of thing, her kind of actions in keeping everybody together as friends and still dealing with the trials and tribulations and still trying to win her ultimate objective of getting her shit back, it's just interesting and just like really connects me with them. Like, I want to see what more happens with this. And the animation quality was pretty good in my opinion. I enjoyed it. I mean, it looks like your typical kind of slice of life rom-com harem kind of thing, but each character has their own kind of distinct kind of look and how they kind of work together. And there was some kind of like CGI kind of stuff that would, I think it was CGI. Mostly it was 2D kind of stuff, but I do like how they were able to like blend everything pretty well together in what's going on, because it's always kind of weird. Now, granted, there's not like a heavy effective use of like CGI kind of stuff going on. And also, I like the opening and the ending was really kind of good. The ending part, like jamming out with stuff. It always works very well when you're able to be like, you know what? I don't need to skip the opening and I don't need to skip the ending because I can jam with it and I like seeing kind of what's going on. So, I would definitely recommend this because it's got great characters that we really explore. It's got a good story and premise that it's like, holy shit, let's see where this goes. And the animation just works well to draw you into the world and the characters, and it's just very fun. And you could, if you really get into it, you could go through it like that, and that's kind of where I went through with it, and I'm like, yes, I would recommend this. Just watch out for the subject material, and yeah, it was really fun, and I can't wait to see where the next season goes. Hopefully they do another season, because that would be sad for me. But granted, I'd be like, hey, I at least got this. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good